Have you ever had a day where you had 100 things to do and you did absolutely nothing? Not because you were tired, not because you didn't care. You wanted to get things done. You tried to start, but something inside you just wouldn't move. You sat there, staring. Maybe opened your phone for the 100th time. Maybe rearranged your desk. Maybe told yourself, okay, now I'll start, and then didn't. And at the end of the day, the guilt hit you like a truck. What is wrong with me? Why am I like this? Am I just lazy? Here's what nobody told you, You are not lazy. Your brain was frozen. And today, I'm going to show you exactly why that happens. What's going on inside your brain when you feel stuck, why it's far more common than you think, and most importantly, what you can actually do to unfreeze it. By the end of this video, you will never look at your laziness the same way again. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine your brain is like a very powerful computer. On most normal days, it handles tasks, makes decisions, filters distractions, all smoothly running in the background. But now imagine that same computer has 47 tabs open. There's an urgent email it hasn't responded to. There are 3 unfinished projects sitting in the background. There's a notification that something went wrong. The antivirus is running. The memory is overloaded. What does that computer do? It freezes. Not because it's broken, not because it's a bad computer, but because it is overwhelmed. This is what psychologists call task paralysis, and it's directly linked to a part of your brain called the prefrontal cortex. Your prefrontal cortex is your brain's CEO. It handles planning, decision-making, and starting tasks. But when you're under stress, anxiety, or emotional overload, your brain shifts power away from the CEO and sends it straight to your amygdala, your brain's alarm system. And here's the problem. Your amygdala doesn't know how to make a to-do list. Its only job is to keep you safe. And in its mind, that overwhelming pile of tasks, that feels like a threat. So what does it do? It puts you in freeze mode. This is the same biological response your ancestors used when a predator was nearby. Stay still. Don't move. Wait for the danger to pass. Except, you're not facing a predator. You're facing a deadline. And your brain doesn't know the difference. Now here's where it gets really interesting and a little uncomfortable. There's a neurotransmitter called dopamine. Most people think dopamine is the pleasure chemical, but that's only half the story. Dopamine is actually the chemical of motivation and anticipation, the fuel your brain uses to start doing something. And here's the critical part. Dopamine is released when your brain expects a reward. Think about the last time you were incredibly productive. Maybe it was right before a vacation. Maybe it was working on a project you genuinely loved. Your brain could see the reward clearly. Rest, recognition, joy. And it released dopamine to get you moving. Now think about those frozen days. The tasks feel enormous. The reward feels distant or unclear. Your brain says, I don't see a payoff. I'm not releasing dopamine. We're not moving. A 2019 study published in the journal Neuron found that low dopamine activity in the brain's anterior cingulate cortex, the area responsible for effort-based decision-making, was directly linked to reduced motivation and task avoidance. In simple terms, when your brain can't calculate, is this worth the effort, it defaults to nothing. But wait, and this is the part that will really make you pause. This gets worse when you're also dealing with anxiety, because anxiety doesn't just freeze your motivation. It freezes your working memory too. Dr. Sion Belok, a cognitive scientist at the University of Chicago, found that anxiety literally uses up your working memory, the mental RAM you need to process and begin tasks. So not only are you not wanting to start, you are cognitively unable to figure out where to start. You're not being dramatic. Your brain is genuinely running out of RAM. And now here's the part I really want you to sit with. Because all of this, the freeze, the dopamine deficit, the working memory overload, is already hard enough on its own. But then we do something to ourselves that makes it so much worse. We call ourselves lazy. We say things like, everyone else manages to get things done. What's wrong with me? We look at social media, full of people apparently being incredibly productive, and we internalize this idea that if we're not doing, we're failing. And here is where society has genuinely let us down. We live in a culture that glorifies hustle and treats rest as weakness. Where I've been so busy is a badge of honor and I couldn't get myself to start anything today is something to hide. But here's a thought that I want to leave with you. The shame doesn't motivate you. The shame deepens the freeze. When you call yourself lazy, your brain registers that as a threat. And what does it do? It activates the amygdala again. More freeze. more paralysis, more shame, and the cycle feeds itself. This is what psychologists call the shame avoidance loop, where the guilt about not doing something becomes yet another reason to avoid doing it. You are not fighting laziness. You are fighting a neurological cycle that your own self-criticism is making worse. Now, I want to raise something important, because task paralysis doesn't exist in a vacuum. For some people, this freeze is occasional. It shows up during stressful deadlines, busy seasons of life, or periods of emotional upheaval. That's your brain being human. But for others, this feeling is constant. It's not just I couldn't work today. It's I haven't felt like myself in months. It's waking up exhausted. It's losing interest in things you used to love. It's a numbness that's hard to explain to anyone around you. If that resonates with you, if this freeze feels less like a bad week and more like a permanent state, that can be a sign of something like chronic stress, burnout, ADHD, or depression. ADHD, for instance, is a condition where dopamine regulation is fundamentally different. It's not a character flaw. It's not a lack of willpower. It is a neurological difference that makes initiating tasks genuinely, structurally harder for that brain. Depression, too, directly suppresses dopamine and serotonin. Not metaphorically, but chemically. Telling someone who is depressed to just start small and push through is like telling someone with a broken leg to walk it off. I say this not to alarm you, but because recognizing the source of your freeze is the first and most important step toward actually unfreezing it. If you feel the deeper resonance, please consider speaking to a mental health professional. Not because something is fundamentally wrong with you, but because you deserve the right tools for what you're actually dealing with. Okay, let's talk about solutions. Real ones, not just make a to-do list advice. Number 1, name the freeze. Don't fight it. The moment you notice you're frozen, instead of shaming yourself, say this out loud or in your head, my brain is in freeze mode right now. This is a stress response, not a character flaw. This single act of naming, what psychologists call affect labeling, activates your prefrontal cortex and reduces amygdala activity. You are literally using language to shift power back to your brain's CEO. Number 2, shrink the task until it's almost embarrassingly small. Your brain is refusing to start because it can't calculate the reward against the effort, so change the equation. Don't say, I need to finish this report. Say, I will open the document and write 1 sentence. That's it. 1 sentence. The goal isn't to trick yourself. The goal is to generate a dopamine signal by completing something, because momentum builds on itself. Number 3, protect your dopamine, especially in the morning. If the first thing you do every morning is scroll social media or check messages, you are flooding your brain with rapid, cheap dopamine hits and training it to expect that level of stimulation for every task. When a long, complex task comes along, your brain compares it to that stimulation level, finds it boring, and refuses to engage. Try keeping the first 30 to 45 minutes of your day dopamine clean. No phone, no social media. Let your brain's baseline settle, and then start your most important task. Number 4, move your body before you move your mind. Exercise, even a 10-minute walk, releases dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin. It's not motivational fluff. It is neurochemistry. Your brain is more ready to begin tasks after physical movement than it is after staring at a screen, waiting to feel motivated. And finally, number 5, stop waiting to feel motivated. Feel the freeze and do the smallest thing anyway. Motivation is not the cause of action. It is the result of action. You don't wait until you feel like cleaning to clean. You start cleaning, and then slowly, you start to feel like it. Action creates the emotion, not the other way around. This is perhaps the most important reframe of this entire video. So let me bring this all together. If you've spent years believing you are lazy, I want you to hear this clearly. You were never lazy. You were overwhelmed. You were under-resourced. You were running a very complex human brain with very little understanding of what it actually needed. The freeze is not a flaw in your character. It is a signal from your nervous system. And now that you know what the signal means, you can begin to answer it differently. Start small. Name what you feel. Be ruthlessly kind to yourself when the freeze comes. And understand that the most productive people in the world are not people who never freeze. They are people who have learned what to do when they freeze. I've been through this myself. I've had days, many of them, where the weight of everything made doing anything feel impossible. And what helped me most wasn't discipline. It was understanding. understanding why my brain was doing what it was doing, and giving myself the right tools instead of more shame. That's what I hope this video gave you. If this video helped you see yourself a little more clearly today, please share it with someone who might need to hear it too. Subscribe for more videos where we take complex psychological concepts and make them genuinely useful for real life. And in the comments below, I want to ask you one thing. What's the one task you've been frozen on? Write it down. Sometimes just naming it is the first step to starting it. Take care of your brain. It's the only one you have.